guys, welcome back to another video. So today's video is a super highly requested one. I'm going to be showing you guys how to use Procreate. Like, I literally wish I had watched this video before I started using Procreate. I'm just going to be sharing every single tool, feature, thing that I know how to use. And I'm really hoping that you can just sit back, relax, pull out your iPad, watch this video, like learn Procreate and design with me. It will be super fun. So yeah, just relax and let's get into it. The Procreate I have is Procreate 5, I think. It's just the newest version, so make sure you have your Procreate updated to the newest version. You can honestly use any iPad for Procreate. I also get asked that a lot, like you have to have an iPad Pro or whatever. I really recommend as long as you have the Apple Pencil. Also, Procreate is $10, which is so cheap for all it can do, guys. Like, I promise. First thing I'm going to talk about is explaining the brushes and the canvas. A lot of you guys ask things like, what brushes do you use, what canvas size do you use, and all that stuff. First, you can see my whole Procreate layout. It's super disorganized, but I have a bunch of different random folders. I really need to organize them, but I kind of know where everything is and stuff. At the top right corner, you see select, which just lets you select artwork. Then you have import. You can import files there, and then you have photo, which you can import photos if you want to design straight onto the photo. And then you have the little plus symbol, which gives you a bunch of canvas sizes. Canvas sizes I usually use the most are just a square, which I usually use like 2800 by 2800 or 2400 by 2400. Basically, the bigger your canvas pixel size is, the more high quality it will be. I don't recommend making it like 10,000 by 10,000 if that's even possible, but I like to keep it in like the 2000s, 3000s, maybe even 4000s range. Another thing to keep in mind when you're creating your canvas is making sure you have a pretty high quality DPI. DPI means dots per inch, so the more DPI you have, the better quality it will be. Again, I don't recommend going too high if you don't really need it. Best DPI sizes for if you're just posting it on Instagram or something like that is anywhere from 72 to 200 is like a pretty good range. If you're planning on printing whatever you're designing, make sure you have your DPI at 300. That's the best for printing something or sending something to print. And then I'm going to talk about brushes. So if you didn't know, I actually sell my own brushes. So if you're interested in any of the brushes that I use throughout this video, it will all be linked in the description. Super fun to use. And you might be asking, Ximena, why do I have to buy more brushes? So Procreate actually comes with lots of brushes. They're super helpful, like especially when you're starting out. They definitely have some more like artistic ones, but I'm more into like lettering and design and all that stuff. I have bought a lot of brushes over the time. Some of my favorite people to buy brushes from are Brush and Barley, Blue Strawberry Studios, and my own brushes. Obviously, those are the main three I use. You can also like buy stamps and things like that, so there's so many fun things you can buy and import into Procreate. So here the main brushes I use are my Panda brush, which is like my best-selling brush, but I also recommend getting the basic lettering brush. Procreate does come with one I don't really like the opacity, how it changes. Those are your brushes and your canvas settings. Next thing I'm going to be going through is explaining all the tools. So I'm not going to go like too in depth about each tool. So if there's something that I don't cover that you wanted to know more about, I think Procreate right here, when you click the little wrench tool at the top and you click help, there's like a Procreate handbook. All right, so we're gonna start with the tools at the top left corner. So you have the add tool right here at the top right corner. You have insert file, which just basically insert a file if you have that. You can insert a photo, which I use this quite a lot. So if you have a photo that you want to work on, I have a lot of really random photos. You can take a photo, which I never use, honestly. You can add text. Add text is one of the best features I think Procreate has added. Love that you can add text now. You can import fonts and so many things. Definitely recommend that's something you should play around with because text on Procreate is amazing. And then we have cut, which I don't really use that much. Copy canvas, and paste. So basically what copy canvas is, let's say you have like a really pretty masterpiece, you like it, and you just want to copy the canvas, not like save the whole thing. You just click copy canvas, and then you go to a new canvas or whatever and you just click paste. All right, so that's that little section, that's the add section. Then we move on to the canvas section. Here you can crop and resize. Through settings, you can change the size, the DPI, you can reset it, whatever. So that's a pretty cool feature. I use that sometimes. You have animation assist, which is one of my favorite things that I also love that Procreate added. So it's basically what you do for animation. So let's say you draw something. This is my satin brush, by the way, and then you just click add frame, draw again. Probably know how animation works, and then you can change like the settings, like frames per second and a bunch of other stuff. So that's a pretty cool feature. And then we have drawing guide, which is also super helpful. It's something I really wish I knew about when I first started because it definitely helps lay out your artwork a little bit. So it basically just gives you a grid. Very helpful if you're like drawing or sketching or whatever. You can also click editing drawing guide, which just lets you change the opacity, thickness, grid size, all that stuff. A bunch of different types of grids for different things that you might want to use. You can also choose assisted drawing. It just basically makes your lines like straight and it goes with the grid, I guess. Here I'm like just squiggling. It doesn't really let me squiggle because it keeps it on the grid. Next we have reference. Reference is so cool. Like, I actually didn't know about this feature until I was filming this video, and I honestly wish I could have explained it better or got a little bit more in depth for it. I kind of made some examples, but as you can see, I was a little bit shocked of all you could do from this feature. It's very cool. So if it looks like something that would be helpful to you, definitely click the link in the description. It's like a 1-minute video by Procreate explaining this feature, and it's pretty cool. So I definitely recommend watching it if it's something that looks interesting or helpful to you. That's pretty cool. All right, then you have flip canvas horizontally, flip canvas vertically. I'm pretty sure you guys know what that does. And then you have canvas information, which just gives you the information on your canvas. Next we have share. You can basically share the image as a PSD, PDF, JPEG, which JPEG is what I usually use the most, PNG, which PNG is what you can share without a background, share layers, so you can share individual layers. So a lot of different things. Then we have video. Video is actually pretty cool because you can basically see the time-lapse replay of what you've been drawing, so that's like what I've been doing this whole time. And then we have preferences, which you can do light interface, which actually looks pretty cool, but I prefer dark interface. We have right hand interface, which basically just puts like your tools that were on the left on the right. Brush cursor, you can see like the little outline of the brush you're using. And we have project canvas, which you just basically project via AirPlay or cable or whatever. You can connect a third-party stylus if you don't have an Apple Pencil. Gesture controls, which is basically you can customize. So if you have a 2nd generation Apple Pencil, whenever you touch it, obviously it changes to eraser, so you can just edit that. Rapid undo delay, so you can actually double tap with 2 fingers to undo it, and that just changes the speed, how fast it undoes. And then you have selection mask visibility, which I honestly don't really know what that does, so I'm sorry. That's the little preferences. If you want to learn more about that section, you can definitely like Google it or whatever. Sorry about that, guys. Camera died. I just changed the battery. We're gonna continue. And those are all the tools on the wrench tool. Now we're gonna go to adjustments, which this is so cool. Okay, so we're gonna go down the row here on things you can do under the adjustments tab. You can change the hue of whatever is on your layer, saturation, and the brightness, obviously. So that's what that does. All right, then you have color balance, which also basically just changes the color. You can change it to shadows, midtones, or highlights. Yeah, you just change the color from there. I don't use that a lot because if I want to change the color or something, I usually just do it like manually. Or another really cool feature that I'll be showing you guys later on. And then we have curve. You can basically also change the color, but with the curve, yeah, I never really understood that, but if you do, you can change it from there. And you have gradient map, which is also pretty cool. I don't really know too much about this. Basically, if I have different brush strokes, you can change it to fit that color scheme, I guess. And then we have Gaussian blur, which I use quite often, and that basically just blurs it. You slide to adjust it. And then we have motion blur, which basically does the same thing. So let's say if I go up, it moves it up, or you can move it to the side, or basically whichever way you want to go. Let's say you want to add like a shadow to a letter or something. So basically you just duplicate the layer. Okay, so in case you don't know how to duplicate a layer, all you have to do is swipe left on the layer you want to duplicate and choose duplicate. And then you can also swipe left and delete it the same way. And then you can choose motion blur and then make it go down. But this is the selection tool up here. You're going to be using that quite a lot. So you just click the little arrow and you move it down. Then this is another really cool feature. I use this like all the time. You get 2 fingers and you basically just swipe right, and that automatically enables something called alpha lock, which allows you to basically color everything inside the layer. Let's say I didn't have alpha lock turned on. If I color over it, obviously it's going to color over. But if I turn on alpha lock, you can change the color of it. You can also access alpha lock by tapping on the layer and then choosing alpha lock. Let's go back to the shadow part. And you can also duplicate the layer like a lot until it becomes darker, and there you can add a shadow. And then another really cool feature, you can see here I have like so many layers, and let's say I just want to combine them. You can do that 2 ways. You can tap on the layer and choose merge down, and it merges it. Or I really love doing this. Get 2 fingers and you basically just combine them like this, and it joins together. I think that's a pretty cool feature. This won't work if you have alpha lock on. So let's say you had alpha lock on and you were trying to do motion blur or Gaussian blur and it's not working. Turn off alpha lock and then it will work. So then we have perspective blur, kind of the same thing, just perspective wise. And then we have noise, which is also a pretty cool thing if you want to add a little bit of like texture or noise to your artwork. Just slide and it adds noise to it, or grain. And then we have sharpen. Okay, so I feel like I didn't exactly explain it well what sharpen does, but here's an explanation from Google. You can pause the video to read it and see what the sharpen tool does. And then we have bloom. This is also a really cool feature though, because you can make something look like it's glowing or like lit up. you can use this. So then after that we have glitch, which is also like a new Procreate feature. You can do different types of glitches. And then we have halftone, which adds that little like dot effect. You guys can play around with that. It's a pretty cool way to add like effects to your art and stuff. And we have chromatic aberrations. And you can add chromatic aberration. Pretty fun feature to play around with. And then under that we have liquefy, which I use quite often. If you want to make something look like it's marble, these are kind of ugly colors, but I'm just going to show you guys an example. Let's say you put a bunch of like things on the canvas. You can choose liquefy, and it basically just moves it around. Also, if you want to make words look like they're moving around, you can choose liquefy, and it basically just swirls it around. It's super fun to use. You can do so many things, so I recommend playing around with that feature. All right, and then we have clone. So I imported this picture and I'm going to use it as an example for clone. You want my hair to like blend in with the fence, or you don't want the little like baby hair sticking out. You drag this little circle thing to like the fence, which is what you're going to be like cloning, and then you're just going to tap wherever you want to use that. I want to clone this area, so basically just clones wherever the circle is to your objects. The clone circle thing to my shirt, I can use that color or that texture, whatever, the same thing that's inside that circle anywhere else. So that's everything under the magic wand feature. So many really cool things under that. And then we have this little selection tool. You want to select just that thing, you circle around it, and then you click the arrow and you can move it around, or you can select it and you can do a bunch of really cool features. Remove, invert, copy and paste, which basically selects what you circled and moves it to a new layer, which can be very helpful. If you have it on alpha lock, you can make it to where it selects the lettering right there. So there's a lot of really cool features under that. That's the selection tool. I use that quite a bit. And then again, you have the little arrow thing, which just lets you move things around. And then to the left, you probably understand this part is basically just like the brush size. And then the one on the bottom changes the opacity. So let's say I want a strong opacity, and then you have like a lighter opacity, and then you have the tools on the top right. That's again just the brushes. The smudge tool, so it's also like a smudge / blend feature. If you can change the brush of the blend, which is something I didn't know for a while. And then you have eraser tool, and then the layers. There's so many things you can do for the layers. If you don't want something being together or something that you can change easily, I have this circle, and then I can add a new layer and make another circle on top. I can simply just move the green circle or move the orange circle or move whatever you have on those separate layers. By choosing the N, you can also change the opacity of the layer, and you can change this, I don't know what it's called, this little thing, but you can add overlay, soft light. You can play around with this. Then you have the colors, but here it's kind of self-explanatory. You just change around the colors. There's different ways you can change colors. Here it gives you hex codes, and then you can also create your own color palettes if you want to keep a selection of colors all together. If you want to know my step-by-step design process, check out my how I do graphic design video. I think it's there or there. I can never tell. It's also linked in the description. So now I'm going to show you some other really cool features and also things you guys were asking about. One of them is clipping mask, and it's something I use quite a bit. So let's say you want to add a texture. It doesn't just work for textures, but that's what I'm going to use as an example. I want to add this glitter texture to something, to a layer that I'm working on. I put it over the layer that I want to change. What you'll do is you'll tap on it, make sure it's above, and you put clipping mask and basically anything there. So here, as you can see, I'm changing whatever is on the top layer. If you have more questions than that, let me know, because I don't know if I explained it very well. I hope I did. Okay, so I got some questions wanting to know a few different things. So first one was, how do you pick your color palettes? So usually I just go on Pinterest and I search up color palettes. So I have this picture that I just found on Pinterest of some colors that I really like. So what you'll do is you'll press on it with one finger, or you can also click the little square button that's over here. It'll give you like this selector tool thingy. So you'll just select it to the color that you want, and then it'll automatically be over here in this little gold place thingy. And then from there you can just add whatever color that you need. Blue, pink, green, yellow. So that's how you add colors to your color palette. Okay, and then also I'm going to be showing you another cool feature. If you're wondering how I add like the clipping mask feature that I told you on text. So let's say I add text. I'm just gonna write hello. Obviously here you can change it. So I'm just gonna do a bunch of colors that I want to be over it, and I choose clipping mask. So you can also do clipping mask from there on the text, or you can also choose rasterize, which you don't want to do too often for everything because I feel like it does lower the quality sometimes. If I choose rasterize, and I can liquefy it from there. So here's a little liquefy feature that I showed you earlier, and it's pretty cool, but it does eliminate the option to edit the text from there. Like it automatically becomes like a drawing layer as if you drew it, not like a text. If you want to know more about like lettering and calligraphy and all that, I do have some lettering worksheets that I'll show you guys very briefly of how I use, and you'll just import this worksheet as a photo, and then you just trace over it, and it really helps you practice and learn lettering. Worksheets are like thing that helped me the most when I was learning calligraphy, so highly recommend using these. But yeah, that's it for this video. I know it was pretty long, but I hope you learned something new and you learned about all the features in Procreate. If there's still some things you didn't quite get, the more you practice, the better you'll get. I promise. Practice is the biggest tip I could probably give you. I'm very tired now. My throat hurts from talking for so long. This video is probably like 40 minutes long when I import it. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed. Like I already said, make sure to check out all the links in the description, subscribe, all that stuff, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!